Drummond said something it was very interesting. I think you would enjoy watching it. Going back to your mom, when you're talking about on the conservative side, your recent positioning with Trump has gotten a lot of people a little bit asking questions.
Sure.
Okay. So hey, the Democrats, what you're doing, trying to undermine everything this man's doing, it's not working. You're kind of going through the whole process, and you kind of Biden, all this stuff. What do you think, the strategy that they're doing right now, do you think they don't know that it's not working, or do you think they're convinced it's going to end up working come November 5th, with the day we vote?
I think they're convinced it's going to work, and I think that they're leaning on the 2022 midterms to buffer their point. You had certain Democrats who were supporting Trump surrogates. I'm sorry, they were supporting these folks and favoring, Trump surrogates during the 2022 midterms. And people were anticipating a red wave that never arrived. You see what I'm saying? And so that's what they're thinking about. The more we put Trump out there, the more we buffer support and augment support for these folks who support him, ultimately it will lead to our victory. That's how they're thinking. And I'm saying, no, not what I'm seeing. I think that he has damn near a cult following. I'm not calling folks cultists or anything like that. I'm just speaking metaphorically about how these folks are in terms of their love, their devotion, their belief in him. And they're not going anywhere. And then you got Hispanics who are supporting him now, according to the polls. You've got more black folks who are supporting him now, according to the polls. And even though they're swearing that the overturning of Roe v. Wade, along with some of the charges that have been executed against him, that's going to turn off white women, well, we ain't seeing that evidence. And so I'm looking at it from that standpoint, and I'm like, well, wait a minute now. Are y'all not paying attention? Because let me tell you something. Charlemagne the God said it best when he said, Joe Biden is not inspiring at all. You almost get the impression that the Democrats who are pushing for Joe Biden to get 4 more years, because that's what they were chanting at the State of the Union address, 4 more years, 4 more years. The man's going to be 82 in November, and you chant for 4 more years. But you've got progressive leftists on this side chanting for 4 more years. I don't know if they know how embarrassing that is, okay? Okay, but that's neither here nor there. The point is that when you're doing that, I'm looking at them, and I'm saying to myself, come on now. This is utterly ridiculous. You think this is going to get it done. But I tell you what I'm starting to suspect. They don't know if Joe's going to last 4 more years. And all they care about is that he gets through Election Day and the inauguration. And then after that, who's the next in line? It's Kamala Harris. And I think that's how folks are thinking. But my problem with it is, again, we're capitalists. We like competition. What happened to competing with him and winning? What's all the lawfare about? One charge after another. You got Letitia James and the New York Attorney General in New York. You've got you got the folks in Georgia with Fannie Willis and others. You've got Mar-a-Lago situation. You got we're really, really, really going to have a trial about hush money to a former porn star. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing now. I'm like, are you kidding me? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not advocating that anybody should be above the law at any time. What I am saying is he's the president of the United States, the former president of the United States. You talk to us about Russian collusion. You talk to us about a bevy of things over the years. Man still running. Four indictments, 91 counts, and the man gets more campaign dollars. Climbing in the polls, okay? And last time I checked, he still ain't been in cuffs. He still ain't been put behind bars. And he's the presumptive GOP nominee. You can't stop him. You cannot stop him. And so for me, I find myself ashamed of the Democratic Party for their lack of a competitive fervor. You had since 2016 to come up with somebody else. And you still can't do it. That is pathetic. It is pathetic. And it is no excuse for it whatsoever. It is 2024. In 8 years, you should have been able to find somebody that can compete with this man other than a soon-to-be 82-year-old incumbent.
Well, let me ask you this, though.
Yes.
Do you want Democrats to win?
That's a tough question
That's
for me.
the question. Yeah.
It is, but it's totally fair, bro. I'm not going to run from that question. It's totally fair. I have to confess what most folks who sit before guys like yourself don't. It's hard to figure out. Like, for example, supposedly we've got a good economy. Unemployment is relatively decent, around 4%. You know, black unemployment, a little under 6%, about 5.6% if I remember correctly. But then you listen to the right and it's like, what about inflation? And then you're driving in California and you're paying an arm and a leg for gas. You go into the supermarket, you're buying some milk, you're buying some bread or whatever. Because, see, contrary to what folks believe, I actually do go to the supermarket. Okay? I do buy my own stuff. You know, all of this other stuff. I'm like, you're watching and you're seeing all of this stuff. And it's like, who's telling the truth? Do we have a good economy or not? Is it really a crisis at the border or not? I believe it is.
Yeah.
Do you, is inflation a real thing? Is it imaginary? You're looking at all of these different things. You're talking about national security, the war in Ukraine. Should we support them? Should we give them more money than we've already given them? You're looking at the, Israeli, Hamas conflict. I call it the Israeli-Hamas conflict as opposed to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. But I don't touch that because I don't know enough, and that's not my lane. But I also find myself, okay, well, we got folks here saying, stop this, stop the bombing, stop all of this. And then you have other folks like, hell with that. Hamas has to be eliminated because look at what they've done, October 7th and the kidnapping and 130. You're hearing all of this. And you read the different publications. I'll read the Washington Post one minute. I'll read the New York Times the next. I read Wall Street Journal the next. I'm watching the channels, Fox News, MSNBC, CNN. I'm going back and forth. And literally, we've changed as a society. We can take the same information and put a completely different twist on it to make it look like who's right, who's wrong. Somebody as knowledgeable as you guys have proven to be with no more than me at this moment in time. I'm studying more and more and more of it every day because I'm fixated on it just like I am with sports. But I'm saying, if you tell me what is definitively true, that's undeniable, I can tell you how I feel. My problem is that I literally could be sitting in front of one person on the left with the same exact information that I'm sitting in front of somebody 15 minutes later with on the right, and they have two completely different versions. And I think that's why America is so lost. Because folks are confused. They don't have the time when you're out there hustling and bustling and trying to take care of your family, pay mortgages, maintain or elevate your quality of life. You don't have time to study everything that needs to be studied. You've got congressional and Senate figures telling you they signed bills they didn't even read. Literally. I've seen them on tape doing this. And so when you have that going on, it's really, really difficult to say, oh, I know this. But if you tell me, these are the facts, Stephen, beyond a shadow of a doubt, I don't give a damn what it is, I can tell you how I feel about it. I can do that.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. And thank you for being, straight up with it. That's the one thing about you that why I relate and I like watching you, because you're straight up. I'll watch and you'll say, yeah, I'll see you're defending Magic Johnson one time. Look, this guy's my friend. I'm like, okay, he's sometimes easier to Magic than he is to somebody else, do all this stuff. But I love the fact that you're raw and you come out and you give your feedback. Here's what it makes me think about. When asking about who you want to vote and who do I believe, do I go with the guy on the left or the guy on the right? You ever had a guy in the NBA or sports that we all criticized? And the media went after him. So everybody's like, what a freaking guy, piece of this and da-da-da-da-da. 7 years later, like, dude, that guy was mistreated by everybody.
Right.
What was that all about, right? And you're like, dude, no. I'm not with you, man. I'm over here. I'm on this guy's side. I don't like what you did. The truth is this. Right. So we can look at a couple things with, 2024 in a few different ways. What we have right now, Stephen A., that I think is easy to do is two things. You actually have, for once, we haven't had this. You got two people we get to vote for that we got 4 years to choose from each. It's not a what if. Right. It's not a, well, do you want somebody like Hillary Clinton? Do you want a man like this to have access to the nuclear button? Right. I don't know if I do. Right. Well, guess what? You know he had it for 4 years.
Right.
What happened?
Right.
And you know this guy had it for 4 years. What happened? So it's actually very easy systematically to sit there with data and say, they went after this guy. I was convinced he was tied to Russia.
Right.
$35 million Hillary Clinton. That was a lie. And everybody in the mainstream media was behind it. Everybody. CNN, MSNBC. Guys, that's kind of shitty. And then you try to defame character. Then you went after the girls. Then E. Jean Carroll, $83 million. Anderson Cooper asks, did he rape you? Well, I think rape is more of a fantasy. What are you talking about? We got to go to break, right? Answer the question. 91 different counts. Mar-a-Lago's only worth $18 million. This is not that good. He thinks it's some. And then all of a sudden, CNN shows this week, well, Mar-a-Lago, if he was to do a fire sale, he could sell it for $240 million. What happened to the $18 million? Listen, all of these things are unfair. And then this guy would go sit with anybody in any interview, to any platform, to anybody, CNN, Fox, CBS, ABC, 60 Minutes. It didn't matter. This guy is a gamer, will go anywhere, right? And you go on the other side, no way. How many times did Obama go sit with Bill O'Reilly? One time. How many times did Hillary Clinton? How many times has Biden been on Fox? How many times? How many times has Biden, how many times have you interviewed Hillary, Bill Clinton, Obama, or Joe Biden yourself?
No, never.
How's that possible? But you've interviewed McCain. So to me, when I watch some of this stuff, and you're on their side, like for the most part during that time. At that time. So
not now.
But
go ahead.
But then when you bring it today and you see what's going on, and the confusing part for me is like my mom's side, all Democrats. They were communists. My dad said they were imperialists. So there was a debate between the two where rich people are greedy and poor people are lazy. So I had to kind of figure it out on my own to see where the reality was. Today, 4 years versus 4 years, we got 3 Afghanistan screw up. Ukraine and Russia. Looks like we're going to have to give these guys another Afghanistan of a couple $1 trillion of taxpayers' money that we keep sending money. Oh, great.
Right.
Israel, Hamas. Okay, all right. Whether we know everything about the history of it or not, how come this didn't happen 4 years ago? How come there was nothing going on 4 years ago? So when you look at it that way, what is happening a lot, that I talk to guys who are celebrities, influencers, Hollywood, TV, somebody that you watch, there's a couple different camps. There's the one camp that is like, look, man, I'm still going to vote left. There's the other camp that says, dude, I'm not going to tell you who I'm voting for, which is kind of like the middle. Like if you had that one interview with Denzel, who did you vote for? It's none of your business. That's right. I don't know if you remember that interview.
I totally remember. Yeah. I don't blame him for that either, because Hollywood's different.
Exactly.
Hollywood's different, and they would hold him accountable in ways most others can't nor would.
But here's the feeling I'm getting with you, bro. The feeling I'm getting with you, which is why I'm kind of like enamored with like the journey you're going through. I'm just kind of following it.
Right.
I think you got to fight. And I think, moms left certain values of pride and dad. And it's like, hey, dude, you got a job to protect this country that gave you this life. And I feel like there is something going on with you that's kind of like, you want to talk, but, it's kind of like, am I really going to say this? Can I really say this?
It's not that. It's just that I want to be as sure as you are. That's what I'm saying. I owe it to the audience. I owe it to the people to make sure that if I'm going to come out with fire and brimstone, I know what the hell I'm talking about. And sometimes when it comes to these issues, I don't. So I'm just being honest about it.
Bro, what would happen if you came out and you said, let's just say in the month of October, Stephen A. came out. Let's be real here. You came out on your podcast, obviously not at the network you would, but on your podcast, you said, guys, I'm going to say something right now. You guys are going to be very upset at me. What happened if you in the month of October said, I'm voting for Trump? What would happen?
I'd be called a sellout and a coon by my own community. That would be automatic. That's exactly what they would say. But what I would tell you is, to know something about me, I wouldn't give a damn.